Right, in this video, we'll look at how to create an array from a text file. So if you've got a text file and each line is data that you would like to have as an element in your array, what you can do is you can use this fetch command to fetch the contents of the file. And then it does all this dot then, so it's kind of a process, right? We fetch the contents of the file, then the contents of the file will be sent into this response variable. We can call this whatever we want, but res is for response. And you take the response, which is basically the contents of the text file in a certain format, and you convert it to text. There's other options, which we'll talk about later, but I think with this, when you fetch it, what it gives you is a blob object, B-L-O-B, blob. Anyway, you can do lots of things with that blob object, but one thing you can do is convert it into an actual string, into text. So when you do this and convert it to text, it puts the result into this parameter. These are arrow functions. We haven't really talked about those that much, but I just use them to keep this nice and concise. Just trust me, this works. The response goes into this data, and then we can split the data. Now, this looks a little different than how we used split before. This is called a regular expression. We could have just done like quotation /n, but some computers, they have, at the end of a line, when you hit enter, they use a symbol called /n for that. Some use /r, some use both, /r/n. So depending on your operating system, the end of line character might be different. So this basically just means that the question mark means you could have a /r and then you have a /n. So it does all these different possibilities of /r/n, /r/n. Okay, and I did these the wrong way. It's supposed to be that way. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so for an example, we have the names.txt here, but I'm going to do colors. I have this colors.txt, and there's, I think, 140 colors in here. And I want each line to be in an element in my array. So if we go to main.js, we start with this fetch command, and as a string, we give it the name of the file, so colors.txt. And then I'm going to go .then, and then we do this arrow thing. And basically, this is the parameter, so we'll call it response. And once it fetches this text file, it stores the contents into here, and we want to convert the contents into text. And once it's done that, we'll do this again. It'll store that text into here. We'll just call it data. And then I need a variable, so we'll create a variable out here called colors array. And we don't need to initialize it to anything. We just need to create it so that it's a global variable. If I create the variable in here, it's only visible inside of here. So now I can go colors array is assigned data.split, and then we do this expression here. So /r?/n followed by that. Okay, and once this is done, it should put the contents of the file, which we're putting into data, should split it and put it into this colors array. And I'll just run this. Okay, so we don't see anything, but if I now type colors array, it's a global variable. Yay! 140 colors, and it's split it by each line, right? 0 lavender, 1 thistle, plum, etc. Okay, awesome. So don't worry too much about how this works. Well, it should make some sense, but this fetch is kind of new. These .then, they're called promises, but just know that this code will work. Okay, just you have your global variable, and then you split the data that you get from the file and store it into this array. Now, something interesting that you might come across when you're doing this, well, first of all, this code won't work if you're not using live server, because of security reasons or whatever. There's protocols for that. So if you just try to open your index.html as a file, the fetch won't work. It has to go through a server. And if I try to go console.log here, colors array, what you may notice is it says undefined. Okay, but if I type colors array here, it's all there. Okay, so this is a common mistake that people make. The idea is that this fetch, it starts the process of loading this file and then converting it and then splitting it and saving into this thing here. But what JavaScript does is it starts the process and then it continues on with the code down here. So the fetching and the converting to text and splitting hasn't finished, and this code will run before that stuff finishes. So it's undefined. All right. If I were to type really fast in here, right, if I were to refresh the page, I'd get undefined too. But by the time I type in colors array, it's loaded and it's finished and I can see the contents. Okay, so just thought I'd warn you about that. So usually an event listener is good, right? Load the data and then you're not going to do anything with the data until it's finished. Or what you can do actually is you can, it added some parentheses here, but we can add a curly brace here. And that'll turn this into a function where we can do multiple lines of, oh no, I think I still want the, oh no, I need the bracket to end that. So basically, yeah, now I can do multiple lines of code. So once the data comes in and I split it, then I can go console.log colors array, and that should work fine. Let's keep this one here as well. I'll just type, this is after the fetch. I'll do a comma, and this is, I'll say, inside the fetch, and then a comma. And hopefully, you'll see the after the fetch actually runs first, and it's undefined, and then inside of the fetch, right, once the process has finished of loading the file and converting it to text and all that stuff, then we have our data there. Okay, all right, hope that makes sense. This can be really useful, right? If you've got a file with a bunch of data that you want to work with, you can load it in with a fairly limited amount of code, right? All right, hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.